before there were angels, before there were humans, before the world took the shape we know, God created beings from smokeless fire, the Jinn, not metaphor, not allegory. According to Islamic theology, the Jinn are as real as you are. They occupy the same world, walk the same streets, share the same air, but exist in a realm most humans cannot perceive. They are intelligent. They have free will. They form families, build societies, make choices between good and evil. Some worship God, some rebel, some fall in love with humans, some become demons, and according to 1 billion Muslims worldwide, they are here, right now, unseen but present. This is not a creature from legend that may have existed. This is a being that Islamic scripture says definitely exists, that the Quran speaks of with the same certainty. It speaks of humans and angels, that scholars debate not whether they are real, but how to understand their nature. The Jinn are not genies from fairy tales. They are not cartoon characters granting wishes. They are complex, morally ambiguous entities with their own civilizations, their own struggles, their own relationship with the divine. And their story reveals something profound about how one of the world's great religions understands consciousness, free will, and the nature of existence itself. The word jinn comes from the Arabic root meaning hidden or concealed. They are the unseen ones, beings that exist alongside humanity but remain invisible to most human perception. In Islamic cosmology, God created 3 types of conscious beings. Angels, made from light, who have no free will and can only obey. Humans, made from clay, who have limited free will within their physical constraints. And jinn, made from smokeless fire, who have complete free will and abilities humans lack. The Quran mentions the jinn repeatedly. An entire chapter, Surah al-Jinn, is dedicated to them. The Prophet Muhammad is said to have encountered them, preached to them, even arbitrated disputes among them. This is not fringe belief. This is mainstream Islamic theology accepted by scholars across all major schools of thought. Sunni and Shia, conservative and progressive. The existence of jinn is considered established fact within Islamic tradition. But who are they? What do they want? How do they interact with humans? And what do their stories tell us about the culture that preserved this knowledge? To understand the jinn, you must first understand that Islamic theology sees the world as layered. There is the visible realm we inhabit, and there is the unseen realm, the realm of the spirit, where angels and jinn dwell. These realms overlap. They occupy the same space but different dimensions of perception. Humans occasionally glimpse the unseen. Through dreams, visions, moments when the barrier thins. The jinn, by contrast, can perceive both realms clearly. They see us. We rarely see them, unless they choose to reveal themselves. And when they do, the encounters are rarely what you expect. If you're curious about how the world's great faiths understood the nature of consciousness and free will long before modern philosophy tackled these questions, stay here. Because the jinn are not just beings of fire. They are mirrors reflecting some of humanity's deepest questions about choice, morality, and what it means to be free. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment Islamic tradition says the jinn were first brought into conflict with humanity. God created the jinn first, thousands of years before Adam. They populated the earth, built civilizations, developed their own cultures. Like humans would later, they had prophets sent to them, messengers from God teaching them right and wrong. But the jinn, having free will, divided as free beings always do. Some followed the guidance. Others rebelled. Wars broke out among them. The earth, according to some scholars, ran with jinn blood long before any human walked. Then God created angels, beings of pure obedience who would carry out divine will without question. And among the angels, or perhaps as a jinn granted special status among them, was Iblis. Iblis was exceptional, pious beyond measure. He worshipped for thousands of years. He rose to a position of honor. The other angels respected him. God trusted him. Then came the creation of Adam. God shaped Adam from clay, breathed into him divine spirit, and commanded the angels and Iblis to bow before this new creation. Every angel bowed instantly. They had no choice. Obedience was their nature, but Iblis had free will, and Iblis refused. I am better than him, Iblis said. You created me from fire and him from clay. Why should fire bow to dirt? In that moment, pride transformed piety into damnation. Iblis became Shaitan, Satan, the adversary. The first being to choose evil with full knowledge of what he was choosing. God cast Iblis out. But Iblis made a request. Give me time, until the day of judgment. Let me prove that humans are unworthy of the honor you gave them. Let me whisper in their ears. Let me show you they will fail. And God granted the request. Not because Shaitan deserved it, but because the test is part of the design. Free will means nothing without genuine choice. Humans needed an adversary to test them. The Jinn needed a leader for those who would choose rebellion. So began the eternal conflict. But here is what makes the Jinn so complex. Iblis is not all Jinn. He is one Jinn who made one catastrophic choice. The rest of the Jinn still have their own free will, their own choices to make. Many Jinn heard the Prophet Muhammad preach and converted to Islam. The Quran describes them listening to Quranic recitation and saying to each other, "We have heard a wonderful recitation. It guides to the right way, so we have believed in it." These are the Muslim Jinn. They pray. They fast during Ramadan. They follow Islamic law. They will, according to belief, be judged on the day of judgment just as humans will. But others followed Iblis, became shayateen, demons who work to lead humans astray. Not all demons are Jinn, and not all Jinn are demons, but the overlap exists. And then there are the vast majority. Jinn who live their lives much as humans do. Working, loving, raising families. Morally complex beings making morally complex choices. Islamic scholars describe Jinn societies as mirrors of human ones. They have cities and villages, governments and laws, markets and schools, marriages and divorces. Some Jinn are righteous. Some are corrupt. Some are warriors. Some are scholars. Some are criminals. They eat and drink, though what sustains them is different from human food. They reproduce, though their biology is not human biology. They age, though their lifespans far exceed ours. A Jinn might live for thousands of years, and they die. Despite being made of fire, Jinn are mortal. They fear death. They mourn their dead. They wonder about the afterlife. In this, they are more like humans than angels. Angels cannot choose. Angels are eternal and fixed. But Jinn, like us, are temporary and free. The most famous Jinn in Islamic history after Iblis is probably Ashour, a Jinn who appears in the story of Solomon. King Solomon, who in Islamic tradition was granted power over Jinn by God, had many Jinn in his service. They built his temple, dug for pearls, carried out construction projects humans could not accomplish, but Ashour was treacherous. According to legend, he stole Solomon's signet ring, the source of his authority, and impersonated the king for 40 days. Solomon, stripped of power, wandered as a beggar until God restored the ring to him. The story illustrates something crucial. Even the righteous king with divine authority was vulnerable to Jinn deception. Because the Jinn have powers humans lack, they can fly, move at incredible speeds, carry enormous weight, transform their appearance, become invisible or manifest in various forms, enter human dreams. According to Islamic teaching, every human has a Jinn companion, a Karen, assigned to them throughout life, whispering temptations and doubts, but they cannot, according to most scholars, read minds. They observe behavior, learn patterns, make educated guesses. They are intelligent and perceptive, but not omniscient. They are powerful, but not all-powerful. They are limited by God's will, just as humans are. If this exploration of how Islamic theology understands consciousness and free will intrigues you, leave a like. It helps this channel reach people who want to understand the depth and complexity of the world's mythological and theological traditions. The Jinn's relationship with humans is complicated, sometimes collaborative, sometimes predatory, sometimes romantic. Yes, romantic. Islamic tradition acknowledges that Jinn and humans can form relationships. Some scholars say intermarriage is possible. Others say it is forbidden. But the stories persist across centuries and cultures. A Jinn might fall in love with a human, appearing in dreams, gradually revealing themselves, offering companionship or aid. Or a human might unknowingly attract a Jinn's attention through beauty, virtue, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. These relationships are considered dangerous. The power imbalance is extreme. A Jinn can leave whenever it wishes, move unseen, manipulate situations humans cannot perceive. The human is vulnerable in ways they may not understand until too late. There are warnings throughout Islamic literature about invoking jinn, attempting to control them, or seeking their help. Magic in Islamic law is forbidden precisely because it often involves compelling jinn to do one's bidding. And the jinn do not appreciate being enslaved. Ruqya, Islamic spiritual healing, addresses what believers call jinn possession. When a jinn enters a human body, causes illness, madness, or physical harm, trained practitioners recite Quranic verses, seeking to expel the jinn and restore the person's health. Western psychology might call this mental illness. Believers would say sometimes it is mental illness, and sometimes it is genuinely a jinn. Islamic theology allows for both. The brain can malfunction on its own, and sometimes external entities can interfere, but not all jinn encounters are hostile. The Quran tells of jinn who helped prophets, who protected believers, who warned humans of danger. The relationship is not inherently antagonistic. It is complex. In Islamic culture across the Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, stories of jinn encounters are common, not as distant myths but as recent events. Ask in any traditional Muslim community, and someone will tell you about the neighbor who saw a jinn, the relative who was afflicted by one, the holy person who commanded them. These stories have patterns. Jinn often appear at liminal times and places. Dusk or dawn, crossroads, empty buildings, bathrooms, which Islamic tradition considers impure and thus attractive to evil jinn. Forests and deserts, places humans rarely go. They can appear as animals. Black dogs are frequently mentioned. Snakes, cats, but also as beautiful humans. A jinn trying to seduce might appear as an attractive person of the opposite sex. One trying to frighten might appear as something monstrous. The key test, according to Islamic teaching, is to invoke God. Recite Quranic verses. Say Bismillah in the name of God. A righteous jinn will respect this. An evil one might flee or attack. But none can stand against the power of divine words sincerely spoken. Solomon's authority over jinn came from God. He wore a ring inscribed with God's name. When he gave a command in God's name, jinn had no choice but to obey. But that authority was unique to Solomon. No human since has been granted that level of power. However, according to some traditions, smaller protections are available. Certain prayers, certain verses, certain practices create barriers jinn cannot cross. A home protected by faith is fortress walls they cannot breach, but faith must be sincere. A nominal Muslim who does not actually believe, who does not practice, has no more protection than anyone else. The jinn recognize genuine piety. They are repelled by it, and they are attracted to spiritual weakness. This creates an interesting dynamic. In Islamic theology, humans and jinn are both being tested. Humans are tested by their choices in the visible world. Jinn are tested by their choices in both visible and invisible realms. Humans have prophets and scripture to guide them. Jinn have the same resources. Some jinn attend mosques. Listen to sermons. Seek to improve themselves spiritually. According to several hadith traditions about the Prophet's life, Muhammad encountered groups of jinn who came to hear him preach. He taught them just as he taught humans. These righteous jinn will enter paradise, according to Islamic eschatology. They will be judged by their deeds, rewarded or punished based on their choices. In this, they are our spiritual siblings, different in form but identical in moral responsibility. The rebellious jinn, the demons who serve Iblis, will be cast into hell, along with humans who followed their whispers. Both tempter and tempted face consequences. This theology suggests something profound. That consciousness and free will create moral responsibility regardless of what form the conscious being takes. That being made of fire rather than flesh does not exempt one from ethical judgment. That the nature of the test is the same for all beings who can choose. Now let me tell you about the types of jinn, because Islamic tradition distinguishes between them. Not all smokeless fire beings are the same. The most powerful are called ifrits or merits. These are the jinn of enormous strength, the ones capable of incredible feats. When Westerners think of genies lifting palaces or moving mountains, they are thinking of merits. But in authentic Islamic tradition, these beings are not slaves and lamps. They are mighty entities who might choose to help or harm based on their own motivations. Then there are ghouls. These jinn inhabit deserts and graveyards. They are shapeshifters who lure travelers to their deaths. The word ghoul comes from this, though Western horror has transformed the concept into something quite different. In Arab tradition, a ghoul is intelligent and malicious, capable of appearing human until it attacks. Sila are female jinn of seduction. They appear as beautiful women to tempt men from the right path. Married men are particularly vulnerable. A Sila might appear offering comfort, companionship, escape from responsibility. Men who follow them are ruined, according to the stories, losing their families, their faith, their sanity. Qareen, as mentioned, is the personal companion jinn. Some traditions say every human has one from birth. It knows your thoughts, your weaknesses, your temptations. It whispers doubts and encourages sins. But it cannot force. It can only suggest. The human retains choice. The Prophet Muhammad himself had a Qareen, according to Hadith, but his uniquely had converted to Islam. Instead of whispering evil, it whispered good. This was seen as evidence of Muhammad's exceptional piety. He sanctified even his demons. This idea is psychologically sophisticated. The internal voice of temptation, the rationalization of bad choices, the justification of harmful actions. Islamic theology personified this as an external entity. But whether literal or metaphorical, the insight is the same. We all have an adversary within ourselves. Different cultures within the Islamic world develop their own jinn traditions. In North Africa, they speak of the blue men, jinn, who protect nomads but demand respect. In South Asia, jinn possession and jinn marriage stories are particularly common. In Southeast Asia, pre-Islamic beliefs about spirits merged with Islamic jinn theology, creating unique hybrid traditions, but the core remains consistent. Beings of fire, free will, moral responsibility, coexistence with humans. Western pop culture has badly distorted the jinn. The genie in the lamp comes from 1001 Nights, which itself took liberties with the tradition. In authentic Islamic teaching, jinn are not servants waiting to grant wishes. They are independent entities with their own agendas. The ring or lamp binding a jinn does appear in folktales, but it is portrayed as slavery, as something wrong. Solomon's use of jinn labor is controversial among scholars. Some see it as divinely ordained. Others see it as problematic, even for a prophet. Because enslaving conscious beings with free will raises moral questions God takes seriously. If you appreciate this channel exploring these traditions with the depth and respect they deserve, subscribe. We are building a community that understands mythology is not simple. That every culture's creatures contain profound wisdom about what it means to be human. The jinn, perhaps more than any other beings in world mythology, force us to consider what consciousness and free will really mean. If you are made of different substance, perceive different dimensions, live for thousands of years, but still have to choose between good and evil, are you so different from humans? Islamic theology says no. We are made of different materials but face the same test. Make choices. Build character. Serve something larger than ourselves or serve only ourselves. This is the test for humans. This is the test for jinn. The only beings without this burden are angels. And according to Islamic understanding, without the ability to choose evil, choosing good is not praiseworthy. It is simply nature. A river flows downhill because it must. This deserves no praise, but a being who can flow in any direction and chooses to flow toward good, that is worthy of reward. This is why humans and jinn can earn paradise. And angels cannot. The angels are perfect but static. Humans and jinn are flawed but dynamic. Growth is possible. Redemption is possible. But so is damnation. Every jinn, like every human, is writing their own story. And the story is not finished until death arrives. The jinn are not creatures that once existed and now are gone. According to Islamic belief, they are here. No, invisible, but present, making their own choices in their own unseen world that overlaps with ours. For 1 billion Muslims, this is not myth. This is reality, as certain as the air they breathe and the ground they walk. And whether you believe in them literally or see them as powerful metaphor, their story contains wisdom, the idea that consciousness exists in forms we cannot perceive. That intelligence is not limited to human brains. That somewhere, somehow, other minds are making choices, facing consequences, grappling with morality. Modern science might dismiss this. Or might it? We have only recently begun to understand how limited human perception is. We see a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. We hear only a fraction of possible sounds. Our senses evolved to survive, not to perceive all of reality. Could there be entities existing in dimensions or frequencies we simply cannot detect? Science does not say yes, but it cannot definitively say no. The Jinn teach something else as well. That free will is both gift and burden. That having the ability to choose means having the responsibility to choose well. That temptation is real, whether you attribute it to demons or to neurochemistry, the voice that says, just this once. No one will know. You deserve this. Whether you call it Quranic or call it rationalization, the effect is the same. And the choice is always yours. Islamic theology personified the struggle, made it external, gave it shape and name. But the struggle itself is universal. Every human knows the conflict between what we want and what we know is right, between impulse and conscience, between the whisper and the warning. The Jinn story says this conflict is not just internal, that there are forces beyond ourselves influencing our choices, but never removing our agency, never forcing our hands. Iblis can whisper, but he cannot compel. The Qur'an can suggest, but it cannot decide. The decision always and forever remains with a human. This is why the Jinn have free will, to test them and to test us, to see what we do when perfect obedience is not our nature, when we must choose again and again what kind of being we will be. The angels are what they are and cannot change. Humans can change. Jinn can change. We are all works in progress until the moment we die. And even Iblis, according to some scholars, retains the theoretical ability to repent. The door is never closed until death. Pride keeps him from it. But the possibility remains. Right up until the end. That is the nature of free will. That is the gift and the curse. The Jinn understand this better than angels ever could. They have walked the path for millennia, made choices, faced consequences. Some found redemption. Some fell into damnation. But all had the chance to choose, and they still do. As do we share this video if you want more people to understand that the world's mythological and theological traditions are not simple, that they contain psychological, philosophical, and spiritual sophistication worthy of serious engagement. The Jinn are beings of smokeless fire, invisible neighbors, free-willed souls navigating the same moral universe we inhabit. Whether they exist literally in the unseen realm, or exist as a profound way of understanding temptation, choice, and consequence, their story matters, because it is, in the end, also our story, the story of beings with free will trying to do good in a world where evil is always an option, where the easy path leads to ruin, where the right path requires constant vigilance, where we are never alone, but always responsible for our own choices. The Jinn walk that path, and so do we.